Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm taking a look at a horror comedy from 2011. That movie is called Monster Brawl. Now, from what I have been told, this movie's got one of the most interesting premises I've ever heard. Apparently, and I'm basing this off of multiple sites where I was reading the summary for this, without reading any spoilers, thank God. This movie is shown as if it were a pay-per-view event, basically like a pay-per-view like wrestling event, MMA event, what have you. And it's fights between iconic monsters, stuff such as the Wolfman and Frankenstein's monster, the Cyclops, so on and so forth, apparently fought in an abandoned graveyard. Guys, or rather abandoned haunted graveyard, I believe is what one of them stated. Guys, this sounds fucking amazing. I have high hopes going into this. I really want this to be awesome, and I'm going to dive into it right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Monster Brawl. Witch bitch? One of the monsters in this event is named Witch Bitch. I like it. I really like it. Oh, and she's also in the first fight apparently. This is gonna be awesome. Well, guys, it only took them about 15 minutes, but we're finally going to get our first fight of this event. Yeah, the pacing on this is not quite the best, but I'm still hoping for something awesome to come out of this, guys. Okay, the Mummy has just cut one of the greatest promos I have ever seen. Not only was it just, mumbling, but also the subtitles were just hieroglyphics. It was awesome. Again, though, the pacing on this is really beginning to drag it down, but I'm gonna talk about that when the movie's done. So basically, Swamp Gut is like a cross between Swamp Thing from DC Comics and the great, Muda. That actually is a really awesome combination, guys. I'm actually kind of liking it, sorta. And we can add King fucking Hippo to Swamp Gut's mix of similar things because his weak spot apparently is his massive gut. Okay. That's still sort of cool. Okay, guys, I totally understand this is a real minor thing to notice, but god damn it, I noticed it. When Zombie Man was heading down to the ring, he was eating a foot, and in the wide angle shots, the toes are on this side and the ankle bones jutting out here, and on the close-ups it was flipped. You'd think that they would have noticed that in filming, but I guess not. And I know it's trivial, I know it's stupid, but damn it, I noticed it and I wanted to mention it. Alright, I am willing to say that is really an awesome looking title belt. And I kind of have to ask, where the fuck did the zombies go? It was like Frankenstein had his match, and then zombies started, coming out of the graves, and now we're right into the finals, and the zombies apparently have vanished. I don't quite remember seeing all of them killed, but hopefully they will come back. Okay, that was not how I was expecting this fight to end, but holy fuck, that was amazing! Well, guys, that was Monster, Brawl. Well, I will say I was kind of surprised at the ending. the ending kind of set up for a sequel. I'm not sure if I really want to see a sequel. I guess that's just me. All right, let me shut this off now. Okay, so where to start? Well, I guess I should talk about the writing, and when I talk about the writing, I really should specify I'm talking about the pacing, because I know I mentioned pacing a couple of times. I guess I should try to explain. For every fight, minus the last one, we get about 10 minutes of vignettes telling us the history of all of the fighters involved in this big event. And to me, guys, while some of it is okay, especially with creatures that you might not have heard of, such as Swamp Gut, where you might want some kind of like backstory for it. The very fact that everything else is played up to be like a pay-per-view or a television special, you kind of expect them to have done it in a more fight night kind of a way. What I mean is that, well, seeing as how we already had Jimmy Hart as the fucking ring announcer, and we had MMA legendary MMA referee Herb, Dean. Well, he was the referee. That doesn't last long, spoiler. But they could have gotten like another wrestling personality to do like interviews backstage, and they could have gotten the histories that like that way, which then could have meant that we could have had like another fight or two thrown thrown in to kind of sort of keep it at about 90 minutes long, and still keep a nice blistering pace. Instead, guys, it takes, no fucking kidding, it takes 16 minutes of this film to get into the first fight, which guys only happens if you are the WWE and this were Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. It takes them forever to get to their first fight. That's why I stopped watching their crap. Anyway, I mean, they could have gotten like Jeremy Borash as the guy to go and do like backstage interviews as he goes and interviews like the Mummy or Swamp Gut or Zombie Man. And I really think that would have been funny because, well, Jeremy Borash is a naturally funny guy. If you ever listen to him do commentary for TNA, and when he does commentary for TNA, when he does backstage interviews, when he's doing regular interviews just for other things, he really would have fit in great here. So, I mean, I really think that they should have gotten somebody like him, and we could have swapped out all of these idiotic, inane, like, vignette, like, origin story things with backstage promos that would have been shorter and would have done the exact same thing. Beyond that, though, the writing here is fantastic in terms of actually making this feel like a pay-per-view kind of pay-per-view like wrestling event, and really it is playing itself up as much like a pro wrestling event as possible, which, honest to God, guys, that really is a fantastic and original concept. I mean, well, it's basically a cinematic version of Celebrity Deathmatch if you took the celebrities and replaced them with monsters, but still, that is something that I never thought I'd hear as a concept for a movie, and goddamn it worked. I mean, again, minus the pacing issues, it really worked. The writing there is really strong when it comes to commentary and what happens, and even the actual promos which are cut by the fighters are just fantastic, including things such as the Mummy just sitting there, and his subtitles are all in hieroglyphics, which to me is just a fantastic little like nerd like bonus for me. I just thought that was funny as hell. One thing I wasn't happy with in terms of writing was our narrator, or as the credits call him, the voice of God. Because essentially, anyone who's played like Mortal Kombat knows that when you hit like massive like combos, or you hit like big moves, you hear the booming voice of the fucking like narrator. Superb, excellent, Scorpion wins. It's that. That's all that is all that the voice of God is for, and if it were a better actor, I would totally have said it works. Let's cover acting, and let's start with the voice of God. It's Lance Henriksen, and Lance Henriksen's doing that thing that everyone apparently loves him to do, which is where he pretends to just not know how to act. I've seen this man in movies where he actually knows how to emote. No, nobody ever wants to see that because they know him as that lifeless robot from Alien, and that's what he's basically been forced to play as for most of his fucking career. And the same thing is here. He plays everything as deadpan and as monotone as possible, and it kind of sucks a whole lot of the excitement from it. So really, they should either have had Lance actually, act, or get somebody in there who could. Get somebody in there who might have done something a little bit better. And since this whole thing's got a big, like wrestling feel to it, The Undertaker, I think, would have been pretty good for that. Just have him in there doing it. I really think it would have added a little bit of extra spice to it. It would have been pretty good. Beyond the fact that Henriksen was asked to not act, and he does that in absolute fucking spades, everybody else turns in a pretty good showing. Dave Foley is one of the two announcers, and he's basically doing a passable impression of legendary sports announcer Howard Cosell, and his broadcast colleague. He looks a lot like JR, but he sounds like shit. Wrestling fans will know what I mean when I say he looks like JR. He really kind of sucked, but then again, I've never seen anything else which Art fucking Hindle has been in, so I don't know if that's just the way he normally is with acting. And as for the fighters, well, the fighters are all, actually we have one guy playing three of the monsters, and he does a pretty good job he plays two of the monsters and one other character, but it's all done very, very well. And the cast here works beautifully because everybody knew that they were going into this and it was going to be this cheesy, fun little film, and everybody just basically put everything out there, and everybody just looks to be having an absolute blast. I'm going to talk about camera work now, and this has to do with well, again, I mentioned this earlier, and I'm not totally sure if I explained it properly, and this was just kind of sort of a technical error with one scene, and it's when Zombie Man's going down to the ring. Kevin Nash is playing his manager, and Zombie Man is eating a foot as he's going down to the ring. And I'm just going to use my pen here as a pretty good example, because my pen's got, you can clearly tell what side is one way, and I mean you can clearly tell the two ends. And as he's going down, he's basically eating his foot, and it's like this in the wide shots, and then the close-ups, it flips. And it stands out because I am one of those weirdos who notices little pointless details like that, and mind you, it was just something to look at and laugh at. And I might as well talk about props instead of camera work, because that really was the one issue with camera work, and everything else, it looked really good. Props wise is where this shit gets funny, because we have gravestones that are clearly made out of styrofoam, and that actually is more a reference to actual wrestling, when you will see wrestlers grab friggin' tombstones, and they'll start smacking each other with them. Yes, that has happened in friggin' pro wrestling. I wish I was kidding. And the announcers are always talking about how these are tombstones are hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and they're swinging them as if they weigh nothing, because they're made of fucking styrofoam. So you have these pieces of heavy tombstones or gravestones, and they are just sort of bouncing off of other parts, and it looks really funny. The props here are not good, but I have a feeling that was intentional. And while I'm on the subject of props, I did mention earlier the championship belt which they use for the final match. And the first time I saw it, I thought it looked really cool, and then they showed a close-up, a much closer shot of it, and I noticed it still looks sort of cool, but it also was kind of lazily done. What they did was they took one of those replica WWE spinner style title belts, those that real ugly fucking belt. I was so happy when they finally got rid of that stupid thing. And they basically just swapped out the center. They basically swapped out the center plate. They added on a wider strap, and then they started like stapling fucking like plastic plastic bones on it. You can tell because the two side plates still clearly say WWE and Raw on them, which I saw that, and once more it kind of made me laugh. Again, props here were not really the best, but again, it actually kind of sort of enhances the feel. Let's see, acting. Lighting here is fantastic. I'm not quite sure what sort of a budget was worked with here, but lighting was awesome in everything. Guys, I'm talking about the graveyard scenes, all of the friggin', like Origin, like Vin, fucking Yet things. All of that looked amazing in terms of lighting and camera work. I might as well mention that as well. And sound mix also works too, because at one point the power goes out and Dave Foley's mic begins to act up, which happens during power outages for a whole lot of sporting events. It was a really nice added little touch of realism. So guys, we have here a movie. I'm not sure what the budget was on it, but if this thing was a low-budget movie, oh my god, just simply in terms of lighting and sound and gore effects too, it looks awesome. The gore effects here are just fantastic. The props here might have been laughably stupid, but the gore effects shine. That is something I can say right now. Ultimately, when all is said and done, can I recommend this movie? Kind of. Because even though it's still a fun watch, you do have to understand that it's that there is that pacing issue in there, and if you can look past that, if you can look past the pacing issue, and if you can look past the laughably bad props, you can look past all of that, you have a fantastic movie. One that is certainly worth checking out at least once. And the good news is, guys, is that if you have a Netflix account, and hopefully they will not take it off of the streaming service between, the time I film this and the time that I upload it, you can watch this on Netflix right now, and it's totally worth watching. I would highly recommend it, at least off there. Or go out and rent it, because renting it will only cost you like a couple of bucks, alright? You really aren't going to miss out on that. As for buying it, oh boy, I'd happily buy it on Blu-ray if I find it incredibly cheap. Maybe like $10 or less. Otherwise, there's no way in hell I would buy this, just simply because those, pacing issues kind of make it not worth more than $10 to me. However, though, you guys honestly might find something far better here than I thought, and frankly, I still have to say that the premise is amazing. However, it is hampered by poor pacing, and that may very well kill it for a whole lot of you. It was still serviceable to me, but it could have been so much better. So yeah, guys, I really can only say check it out if you have Netflix, or rent it if you have a video store in your area, if you still have a video store and it's there. Otherwise, it might also help if you are a fan of wrestling and you're a fan of monster movies. Otherwise, you're not going to be into this shit either. That's just a quick little heads up for that. So yeah, guys, that really is the best I can say is check it out if you have Netflix. That's kind of the best I got. And I know I've said that about 3 times now. I'm now starting to ramble. So anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.